Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. This is episode 117 of the Workshop Podcast, and it is May 22 of 22. Kind of excited tonight. In a minute, we're going to bring Prepper Rob on. It's going to be a really good episode, guys. We had some pre-conversation. I don't want to spoil it, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. All about prepping for special needs family members. But real quick, we always get the few little administrative items out of the way. So announcements. Next week, next Sunday, I've got a guy named Greg Gorecki. I really hope I pronounced that proper. He is a fellow Albertan. He's coming on the show chatting about the name of the place is the Apocalypse Preparedness and Survival School out of Edmonton. So I was super excited to get a fellow Flatlander to come in and chat with me. And this is a school that they run on weekends where they're teaching survival skills, homesteading skills, bushcraft, all that. So I'm excited. It's going to be a great episode. Now, number two, a follow-up to our Angry American interview the other day. Chris is going to send us a couple of signed books. So we are going to do a giveaway with that. I'm rather excited. So if anybody has any suggestions on how we should do this giveaway, send them to me. Social media, email, doesn't matter. Just give me some suggestions. We'll come up. The best ones will come up and we'll do a couple of giveaways. It was super nice of him. That was one of the best interviews I've ever had. And it was, what a cool dude. Hey, James Richter. And number three, come and join us on Telegram. You guys hear me say this every week, but it's because it is the best place to drop in and join us as part of the workshop community. We had a chat today about tool batteries. How many is too many? The answer is never too many. We had a question about swapping out toilets, the whole works. Anyway, so drop by. That link is in the description. And today's tool, if you guys haven't seen one of these before, it's $4.99 on Amazon. It's an Irwin Carpenters pencil sharpener. It's really cool. The flat pencil goes in and the sharpener turns around it. Saves you from trying to cut your thumb off when you're using a jackknife to sharpen it. It's become one of my go-tos. I always have a couple of them in the bottom of my toolbox. Link is in the description. And yeah, check it out, guys. Other than that, let's bring Prepper Rob on. Give me 1 second. We'll bring him up. Hey, Rob, how are you, bud?
Greetings. Doing great.
Good. So where are you located?
I'm located in Louisville, Kentucky, which is like the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky's in middle of the United States, East Coast. We're about 6 hours from Washington, D.C., east of Washington, D.C.
Okay. Is that where they make Louisville Sluggers?
Yes, we do.
Right on. I'm a baseball fan, but Jays especially. So you don't have to hold it against me, you know. So here comes the ignorant Canadian in me. How far is Louisville from Nashville?
About 6 hours.
Okay, so not
From my house to Nicole's, I've looked on the map. It'd take me 6 hours to get there.
Oh, that ain't too bad then. Okay, yeah. I knew it was in that area because when Becky and I were heading down that way, I remember seeing it kind of in the periphery of the map, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, we must be getting down there. So that's cool. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about you, Rob. This is my favorite one, but where'd you grow up? How'd you get in the family business? And most importantly, what was your first job you did in high school?
Okay. Well, my first job, it's really my only job. I've worked for the family business my whole life for about 35 years. And so I was cleaning out trash cans, running deliveries, stuff like that for the plumbing business. And my dad did a whole lot of yard work at the house. And I know he told a guy one time, well, I'm not much into yard work. Well, what do you mean? We do yard work all the time. So that's what I did there. And grew up in Louisville and in the suburbs. So it's kind of like that when I got into prepping about 5 years ago, I mean, the talk of, processing animals and all that, I have to skim past that a little bit. I'm more of a touchy-feely guy, but I'm glad I want all those guys around. I'll provide good lights and a place to process all those animals, but I'm not really in on that. Don't want to be in on that.
That's okay. You know what? It's funny because, so many people in my community are homesteaders, and it's hard for Becky and I to call ourselves homesteaders because we live in a I don't know, it's a rural town and we live in the town. So we do our best to homestead there. But yeah, that's the cool thing about being into preparedness and being a prepper is that you don't have to be a specific type. You can be the guy that helps other people, or, if you're not into animals, well, then you can trade for it. That's what I like. But
All right.
so you're married.
Mhm.
How'd you meet your missus?
Well, we went. It was online. It was a dating agency. I'm trying to remember. It's called Matchmaker, and I was
Oh, yeah.
I was I dated a lady, and it didn't work out, but she turned me on to my wife Tracy. So we've been married 30 years.
30 years. Yes, sir. Right on. And you've always lived where you live now, basically in that kind of general
Basically,
area?
the basic area, yeah, the Louisville area, and I like the. I live right across the bridge, and it's neat. You got the big city, and then what some people call the back porch, the rural across the bridge.
So you're kind of close to the city, but you've got enough of that kind of rural area that you can
Yeah,
roam around and enjoy yourself?
I do because it's what I moved up here before I was a prepper, and now I'm the second to last house before you hit the farmland, and that's
Oh,
what I tell people to do is your goal should be to live where I'm living. Don't get way far out.
yep.
Don't live in an HOA. Don't be downtown high rise building, but be just on the edge of town where you can be close to supplies and other people.
That rural urban fringe, we've heard
That's
that said a
right.
few times, haven't we?
Yeah. Rural
Yeah.
urban fringe. That's I'll use that. That's a new term.
So then I guess probably about 10 years into being married, along came a bundle of joy named Josh. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So so this is what you came on for.
Yeah.
And as we chatted earlier, not to sound ignorant, I don't know a whole lot about autism or the challenges that you face. So if you
Yeah.
can, I gladly take as long as you need to kind of tell me, you know, the whole process. Like, what, how young do you find out that they're autistic and go from there?
Yeah. What happens is that that autism is right now there's a it's an I don't know if you call it an epidemic, but there's a big rise in it. Now it's 1 in 10 boys. It's more in boys than girls.
I didn't know that.
It
Okay.
is it is there's an explosion of autism
Okay.
in the past 20 years.
Okay.
And so what happens is it comes on at about age 2. Now there's a lot of different theories on why it is that if you hear things, well, my son was cured by this, my daughter was cured by that. It's a spectrum,
Yep.
and different children are on different sets, different areas, different state, not really stages, but different planes. So my child is low functioning. He's nonverbal.
Okay.
Now, you can have somebody that has high functioning Asperger's, and they can be a college professor. They can live on their own, but they can't tie their shoes. They can't
Oh,
operate a vending machine. So
wow. Okay.
and the high functioning Asperger's people, they won't get jokes. They take things literally. Like there's an Asperger's high functioning guy in college. He said we're not supposed to have beer in our dorm room, and I take the beer and I throw it out. And since the guys didn't see me do it, they'll never know
Right. Fair
because
enough.
because the in his eyes, and if they didn't see me do it, then they would never figure that out. Now, on a lower functioning, see, my child has never seen me climb out a window. So if there was so I've never done that in front of him because he doesn't know he could open that window and crawl out. He's never seen me do it.
So if he never sees something, he has no concept of being able to do it then, right?
That's right. I mean, they could be carrying a coat and it could get cold, but they wouldn't think to put it on. It's that's the way their brain works.
Do they feel discomfort or pain then,
They,
or
they have a high threshold for pain, which is worrisome. Their pain receptors are about the same. It worries us that like if he ever broke his leg or broke his arm, he wouldn't be able to broke his leg. He wouldn't be able to stay off of it. He
sure?
wouldn't understand. Okay, I can't get up and run. I can't get up and walk, and then it wouldn't heal right.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, if that happens, he'll have a permanent problem for the rest of his life. So it's overwhelming.
So, what would the difference between autism and Asperger's be then?
Okay, Asperger's is the high functioning
Okay.
children, and then you get into the savants, like Rain Man was a savant where he could count things, he could do math in his head, but he didn't understand how much, like in the movie, what a car and a candy bar cost the same, but he could do math. So
Right.
that's a savant. And then there are high functioning savants like Elon Musk and Bill Gates. They say they have autism, right?
Okay.
And so you can be brilliant and have that and work with it, or you can be in the middle there. There are people that can talk and live on their own, but they have to be in assisted living. They have to have people take care of them, check on them.
Right.
Like there's a very good podcast called Autastic, where you have two
Oh,
comedians, and one of them is up in Canada, um, and then one of them has a son who lives in Sweden. One of them's low functioning, but the other one is middle functioning. But the other child who's 30, he's not going to be able to take care of himself.
wow.
And so it's when you get autism and when you have a special needs child, it's a life sentence. And we love our children and they're great. And we worry about when we die, how do we keep the organ vultures from going into the facility or meeting a guy outside the facility who's taking out the trash and say, bring me out the most healthy kid there. We're going to euthanize him and sell his organs. Now they do that right now in China.
Wow.
So that just because the money is fine, you just get a life insurance policy, name them the beneficiary, and put that, and you can do all kind of things to show them they have plenty of money. But when you pass away, who's going to take care of them? So like we don't have any other children. My nephew has a daughter with Down syndrome, and then they went on to have two other children. So there's three boys that can take care of her,
Right.
but still she'll still be in a facility. I mean, they're going to have to try. Okay, is she going to live with one of us? So she's in a facility. Then that's what worries us. So I mean, it's normal kids, they grow up and they go off, and you hopefully they don't get into fentanyl. Hopefully they're successful. Hopefully they don't have a bunch of tattoos, but or whatever. But when you have a special needs child, you don't have that luxury. They're going to be with you forever.
It, how do you look at that, Rob? Like, I know you said it's a life sentence, and I know you love your son, but that's got to be a hard dichotomy, is it?
Yeah, it is. It is like one of the things that they say that the autistic children don't live an average lifespan because their brains are running so fast that it wears them out. So it's
Oh,
very scary to think that that if he got like my cousin Donna got a brain scrambled because she was out in the middle of the night trying to help somebody, stopped on the side of the road, another car comes in there, hits them all, and her brains are messed up. So she got ovarian cancer at age 35, and my Aunt Dee didn't didn't treat it. She
okay.
just let it take her, and it's a terrible burden.
Sure.
And so that's when you do all the therapies. Like the way I look at it is, I got my whole life to work on him to get him
Mhm.
to the point where he can be as sufficient as possible. Like if they came out with a way, a way to change his brain the way it works, so
Mhm.
he could understand, so he could uh, be more, could take care of himself, understand what's going on. Um, I would do it toward the end of my life if they had practiced this thing for years, if they had some treatment. So the probably that that I don't know. I think that I hope that I can catch him up
Mhm.
within the next like I'm 56. I plan to live for 100. I'll have all sorts of whatever organ you want to experiment on. I'll have them all. I got to take care of Josh to the end. But
Good man.
so I've got another 40 years to try to get him to talk. He does some signs, and I can teach him a sign in a few days. He communicates with sign language, and we also do what we call picture exchange or PEX.
Okay.
He started off with little cards. You could laminate his cards, and he'd flip through his book and point, "This is what I want." So now we have it on our smartphones, and so he'll get out his smartphone, and there's a program, and he'll flip through it, and he'll tap that, and it'll say, because I've recorded my voice on it, I want chicken, I want shower, I want to go to the plumbing shop, I want to go home.
Wow.
And he'll flip through, and I want White Castle. He'll study those pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
so
hate White Castle, but that's okay. Yeah. No.
that's how he communicates. So he's very receptive. It's coming in. Like I'll say, he doesn't understand days of the week, and I haven't worked on teaching him that. So if he gets up early, he thinks it's ready to go to the plumbing shop, and I say no, it's a school day, and so he'll get upset. He understands when I say, well, we're not going to the plumbing shop. We're going to the you got to go to school.
Sure.
Well, he understands what's going on. It's like if I say, Josh, I'm too tired to go on a ride. He likes to ride around in the country. So every 45 minutes, he pulls me to go ride around in the country on these country roads. So we go for a 20-minute ride, and then we come back, and he jumps in the shower, plays in the shower, we do that again. So now I got a therapist that we work with, an occupational therapist. So we've got lots of homework. So I say, okay, now we've got to do some exercises before we go on a ride. And it's this before that. The same way with food therapy. Like we want him, he loves chicken and crackers, and that's all he eats. And luckily he doesn't like candy, and he doesn't like sweets. A lot of these kids get very big because they don't move around. They love sweets. And the doctor said as much medicine that he's on, he should be heavier.
Wow.
But he's not. He's not. And he loves soft drinks, and so we can't have him here because he'll drink them all one after another. So we'll go on a soft drink run. Or
Okay.
I got the little half cans in the car, and I make him drink diet stuff. We drink Gatorade.
That's neat. So he has, or at least there's some ability in there to communicate, you think? Or, I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully this isn't too far-fetched, and stop me if it, but you've heard of things like, you mentioned Elon Musk earlier, and the Neuralink thing that he was talking about. Do you think that maybe some sort of, I don't even know how to put it, I don't want to call it cybernetic because that sounds so science fiction, but do you think there's some sort of, computer human interface there that might be able to help him communicate maybe 10 or 20 years down the road?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a guy now that has a brain scan gadget he can put on his head, and with your mind, you can manipulate the screen.
Right, I've seen
that technology is there, and I think that within the next 40 years, there'll be ways for him to communicate through a computer. And I'm not giving up on teaching him to do sign language, and teaching him to count, and teaching him to his alphabet. I mean, I'm not giving up that I cannot make him know all that stuff. I mean, be a regular kid. I've got my whole life to educate him to the point where he can get a job, and he can function, and he can understand, he can do tasks. I think he's in there. He's in there. It's I've got to do the occupational therapy homework. Like the more core strength you have, sitting up straight, and your body movements, if you do all that stuff, then that helps your brain function better. So that's one theory. So we have somebody coming in doing occupational therapy, once a week we do that.
Okay.
And then we've got, I found I've got my shirt for the feet, families for effective treatment of autism.
Okay.
And they had a provider fair, and there's another person that's going to do speech therapy. So
Nice.
we're going to get that, because one of the things in the U.S. that the problem is the Medicaid in the U.S. Takes care of the poor people. It's different than Medicare. It's Medicaid.
Okay.
And you have, for people that make money that are not technically poor, you have to be on a waiting list. And they call it the waiver, where they waive the requirement for you to be low income. So as parents, we're on the list for 10, 15 years till we can get some government help.
Wow.
But then when we do, like the Lord's blessed me with so much stuff, we're dumping it right into his therapy. Because so like we're going to get another therapist, and like he's got one more year of high school. So I worry about, okay, what's going to happen? After that, are there day programs? Because right now we've got a lady through the government which watches him from 7 to 5.
Okay.
And it took us many years. You can get on the waiver list, but then you got to find an agency that pays his employees good to get good people.
Yeah.
So the shortage in trying to find somebody to help, I mean, it's hard. You can't find good people.
How do you, I know this wasn't a question I was going to ask, but how do you stay positive, Rob? You seem to have a good attitude, and you're optimistic about it. I love that, because I can imagine some people would see that as just a lot more difficult than you do.
Yeah, I mean, I have my good days and bad days. I mean, like today, as I'm talking to you, I'm inspired by all that I can do, and so you just go on with it. You look back at your accomplishments, like we did we've done all the therapy, and we've learned all the stuff. We had to do the guardianship stuff. We have to do a special needs trust. We've done all that. So we've done all the good stuff.
Good for
And
you.
you just go on with it.
And I assume that you and your wife have to lean on each other sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, we do, because she's more of a disciplinarian than I am, and so like he'll be jumping on the trampoline, and it's time to come in, and he won't come in, and my wife will say, "Josh, come in," and he runs in. And the other night he wouldn't eat his food. I said, "I'm texting your mother," and I was voice texting it, but I hadn't sent it yet. He started eating his food. So we have a great relationship. And to get back to when he was a child, that he was coming on it, and he was saying words, and then he had the measles, mumps, rubella shot. And what we did is we were just trying to get caught up on our vaccinations, because our doctor, there was only 2 places in the country 20 years ago making these vaccines, and they were behind. So we wanted to catch him up. Well, we gave him 3 1 month, and then 2 the next month. Then he went downhill from there.
Oh.
So what it is that there's the thimerosal is a preservative that was in the measles, mumps, rubella, shot. And I think that what happens is that the doctors are trying to give all these children all these vaccines at one time, and their little bodies can't handle it. So I think that since we had him at 32 and 28, the terrible program, the alpha fetal protein test said he was going to have Down syndrome. So did the shot cause this, or did it just come on? Because it comes on at 24 months. So what I want all these young parents to do, get all your vaccinations, just divide them up. Like,
That's
and
good.
because that's what I'm saying to do. Now, some children, like Amy at A Farmish Kind of Life, none of her children have been vaccinated. And so you get into this, well, we automatically have to vaccinate. You got to have your shots to go to school. Well, why do we go to school? Can we go to homeschool? Can we do this? Can we do that? So when you get into the system says everybody has to be vaccinated. Well, why? And can we? So just don't automatically do that.
So spread it out, get it, and that's okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
So man, we're almost a half hour in already. We're doing good, but
Yeah.
I'm proud of you guys, man. That's awesome. I mean, it's a tough, everybody gets a hand that they're dealt with that can be difficult, but you guys are doing well. So you've brought, now he's 20 years old, and you said about 4 years ago you kind of get into preparedness and being a prepper. How did that start, and what were your first few steps you took as a prepper?
Well, it started with I remember being a drive-through at Wendy's, and there was Dick Cheney, vice president, was on the radio saying the number one thing he worried about was North Korea with an EMP weapon, and we were worried because he had launched a satellite that was flying around there, and could it have a bomb on it and all that. So the first thing I started building was Faraday cages.
Okay.
And I built 3 or 4 of them and perfected my design. I've got one on my website. I'm trying to sell. I made out a giant piece of ductwork. And so I did that. Then I had these barrels of water. I got 4 55-gallon drums of water before I even knew about the IBC cage totes.
Where'd you get the drums from?
Well, my brother had some type of cleaning agent in it, and I washed them out and washed them, and I'll probably that'll probably be more bathing water, flushing water, and then I started collecting, filling up 2-liter bottles and giant 1-gallon orange juice bottles and fruit and apple juice bottles, and I just put shelves in the basement and started, collecting water. And then I ran wires in the house for 12-volt lights in the ceiling upstairs and downstairs. And then I ran a line from my battery bank to my wood stove and to my furnace, so I could run them off the generator.
Nice. Okay.
And so, because I tell people, don't just start off with the basics. Figure out what's the minimum that I need, and just start from there. I've got a little Harbor Freight battery, solar panels, and a charge controller, but I've got 6 deep cycle batteries and a bunch of other car batteries. So I was able to run my furnace in the middle of summer for about 6 hours off the batteries.
Sure. Okay.
And but I've got the generator. I've got 2 generators. I got a big one and a small one that can run the deep freeze. And so that's what I did. I started collecting the first aid supplies. We have a lady at work that did Z Medical. I mean, now they've got bought out for somebody else, but they used to give me their expired first aid supplies. So I started collecting all of them, and so my plan with Josh to tie it into has always been, is called compound prepping, because what I'm going to do at my house, I got lucky. I moved to this house before I was a prepper. It's at the end of it's where farmland meets the suburbs.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is that if we have an East Coast power grid attack, because the East Coast power grid is divided up into 3 sections: Texas, west of the Rocky Mountains, and the East Coast. So if terrorists wanted to do that, it'd be very easy. 2 guys in a private jet, they steal 2 private jets full of fuel, and they fly into these 2 giant facilities, and they could take the power out for 5 years in the United States, because we made the mistake of going to alternating current, which uses transformers. So that's the big thing. And if that happened, then what I would do is that I would set up a compound. I would tell my neighbors, you do guard duty, and I'll feed you and I'll wash your clothes in exchange for this, for that. So after they get over the shock of it, they're going to barricade the road on either end. Nobody's going to get in. We're supporting Rob.
That's a great way.
So with special needs, when you get into prepping, special needs parents, they don't go through, I got to abandon the shelter of my house and run out in the woods for fear of what everybody's going to do.
Right.
It's more afraid of what everybody's going to do than being out in the elements. But when you have a special needs child, you can't do that.
You got to bug in, right?
You got to bug in. So I've always been bug in. I never did the bug out stage.
To be absolutely honest, I recommend I recommend that 99% of the time for everybody
Yeah,
because all your shit's there, right? I mean,
yeah,
literally everything you have is home.
right.
So what? I mean, you got water, you got batteries, you got food, that kind of stuff. So what specific or special concession, like you said, chicken and crackers that
Hmm.
Josh likes quite a
Yeah.
bit. So what kind of specific provisions have you had to do for your son?
Well, we have a freezer full of chicken, and
How it doesn't
that's really about it. We've got medicines on his medicine, so we've got the CBD oil and the CBG oil.
Oh,
I mean,
what's the
well,
difference?
CBG it's kind of the same thing as CBD, and I don't remember exactly what the difference is, but I'm really a big fan of what's chiropractic, what's called cranial sacral therapy,
Okay.
where they can actually the doctor can feel your spine and feel the spinal fluid going through your spine, and he can do little tiny adjustments. Because when my autistic son was going through puberty, he would try to strangle us going down the road if we passed up this place he wanted to go in and eat, or he wanted to go to play. So when he was getting cranial sacral treatments every week, well, this guy got sick, and we had to find another couple of doctors in town to do it. So it's a real lifesaver. But on the medicine, we save all his medicines.
Okay.
That when if he gets off the medicine, we save all our medicines. So what I would do there is that I need to get more CBD oil, because I think that would help with the aggression.
Have you seen do you give him CBD oil now?
Not now. I'm
Mm.
saving it up for
Okay.
when we did when he was going through this looping phase, where he would go through a phase where he'd bite his hand, and he every night he went through it. He would bite his hand, he would run around the house, he would dump drinks out, he'd try to gag. And we finally figured out it was catatonia, and they gave him some medicine that knocked it out. But we could give him his lorazepam, which is
Mhm.
what we have to do to sedate him to take him to the dentist. So we take him to the dentist and a haircut at the same time every 3 months. And he's
Fair
getting
enough.
so strong that he's taller than me. He weighs, 185. Like, he'll come down here. He did on Brian Lott's when I was on his show.
Yep.
He came down and he pulled me away. And what I have to do is I have to go with him, because he could break my wrist if I fought him.
Okay.
He's so strong, and so that's what I'm more. I think he'd be okay. The seizure medicine and the stuff to sedate him and the CBD oil, if he got aggressive. Now, he's gone through puberty. I don't know how he would do. I mean, I talked to the doctor about all the medicines. Can we get him off some of this? And we just have to continue on with it.
Okay. And you were telling me earlier that you had to build special protection in the
Yeah.
vehicle as well. What did you have to do there?
What I had to do there is I had in the Jeep we had I made a barrier out of wood,
Hmm.
and I cut a hole in it. And my wife's taller than me, and I should have had her sit in it because she could barely see out. But don't change it; it's fine. And then people, they thought we were transporting dogs or something, because they didn't understand what it was. We got a few looks, but so the second one in the minivan, I made it out of plexiglass.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, much better. Sure.
Much better polycarbonate quarter-inch thick plexiglass, and because the minivan had rear air conditioning. And so
Nice.
we did that. And the problem is that so he grew out of that, but it's but when you can get, like my wife, it frightened her so much when he would try to do that going down the road. So it took her a long time to get to the point where she was comfortable
Sure.
without the barrier, because we got a new car and it didn't have rear air conditioning. And so we don't do the barrier anymore. I still have one, because the lady that transports them, she sometimes takes them out to eat. So I made a barrier for her.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I can do for special needs children in town. That's another side hustle. I can make these barriers, um, and that's what we had to do.
So is he obviously then he's able to get out of his like safety restraints or
Yeah.
seatbelt or whatever? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He would come right out of that seatbelt. I mean so we figured that out. Um,
I,
but
I
yeah.
was watching Brian's live stream there from the Lots Project, and
Hmm.
he brought you a sock while you were talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did.
What is that?
Well, what he is, that's how he communicates that he wants to go somewhere. That if he'll bring me socks, and then the socks are if he brings me socks, that means he wants me to put his shoes on. We put our shoes on, then we go for a ride.
Okay.
So that's his way of communicating. And like today, we're at the plumbing shop, and he put his glasses on and got his shoes and socks. Okay, when I put my glasses on, that means we go somewhere. So that's just recently that we're trying to make him wear his glasses more often.
And they're uh, autistic children are I hate to say creatures of habit, but I mean that's just a saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So routine helps them quite a bit.
Oh, they love routine because the problem is that their senses are all on 100% because they can't tune anything out. Like
Okay.
like in the olden days, you used to have the fluorescent bulbs that buzz, and
Right.
they go into a room and that sound would bother them. They could hear that,
Okay.
and like a lot of them cover their ears because so much noise is coming in at one time they can't filter it out for a few minutes.
I went to school with a young man named Craig, and I mentioned to you that my friends of mine
Hmm.
fostered, and he would cover his ears, rock back and forth,
Yeah,
and hum or holler
right.
quite often.
Hmm.
So that's kind of
That's
common, is
right.
it?
That's what they call stimming. For stimulate, it's stimulating. They're trying to do a counter stimulation to all the stuff they're trying to do something to block out everything that's coming in because they can't turn their senses off. Like if a faucet was dripping or a clock was ticking or a noise, I mean that stuff drives them nuts. And
So
so the routine, I mean if the routine gives them safety
right, and
and
comfort.
a comfort in a chaos world, like they have deep pressure, like he has a weighted blanket. And so they
Hmm.
like that. A lot of them like to cocoon and get in tight spaces because they like that deep pressure. It's very comforting.
So I mean, so I'm kind of getting a little bit of the idea, but um, so food, of course, you
Hmm.
want them to be able to. So for prepping, of course,
Yeah,
like you said, a deep freeze full of chicken, and
right.
so and you said obviously bugging in, and
Hmm.
the big thing would be, I assume then at this point would be to try to continue his routine the best you
Yeah,
could, right?
yeah. It would be a new routine. He would that instead of getting in the car and going for a ride, we would walk down the street, or we would. I'm thinking about if I ever got a golf cart, or well, I've got the lawnmower. We would I need to get a little trailer, and then we would just drive. He'd get on or build a sidecar because I got to be able to see him so he doesn't jump out. I'd have to build a sidecar. I probably eventually I'd like to get a golf cart because
Okay,
I'm always thinking of something that we can ride around in the neighborhood post event. I mean, I
sure.
think because a lot of preppers they keep wanting to talk about the big issues. Well, it's a matter of prepping is what's going to happen today, and I believe prepping is 80% Dave Ramsey and only 20% Jack Spirko because Dave Ramsey is a big financial guy in the U.S.
Elaborate on that. I seen that principle, and I've
Yeah,
kind of been all over the questions you sent me.
yeah,
But talk about that because I really like that saying. So would
yeah,
I mean, for the people that maybe don't know who either of those fellers are, although
yeah.
most people will, just
Hmm.
elaborate a little there. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Dave Ramsey, it's the he does the Financial Peace University, and he's been
Okay.
doing it for about probably 20, 25 years. And his philosophy is you cut up all your credit cards, and you don't use credit cards, and you pay off all your debts, and you do what the snowball effect. You list all your debts from the most to the least, and you attack that small debt, and then you pay that off, and you take that money you save there, and you do the other debt. And so his big thing, how it ties into prepping, is maturity is the ability to delay pleasure.
Right.
So, like what I want to eat, the bacon, egg, and cheese from White Castle every morning. I can't afford that. It's unhealthy. So I'm going to delay that pleasure. So when you can get your finances in order, and then you can think outside the box, like, I enjoy doing this, but this is not a good idea. I have friends, I hang around with friends who drink beer and spend money, but I'm going to hang around with people that want to save money, or I'm going to hang around with people that go to the gym. So whoever you're around, you're being influenced by.
Absolutely.
Like John from SEO Tactical said in his presentation. So if you hang around with financial people and then you make a decision, okay, I'm going to pay off all this debt. We are going to pay off our mortgage by a certain age. You start off having $1,000 in the bank. That way you have an emergency fund, a minimum. So if a big dentist bill comes, the refrigerator goes out, then you have $1,000 cash, and you don't put it on the credit card with interest, because compound interest it's just math. And if it's in the stock market, it's going up, then it helps you. If you have credit card debt with interest, it hurts you. So
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's just math. It has no emotions. So pay off all your credit card debts. And then when you can learn to think outside the box, then you can apply that to prepping, saying, well, what happens if the light turns green and I go through the light, somebody T-bones me, and I wake up at the hospital a month later, and you're standing there and your wife's running around, and wife's standing there, and your autistic child's running around her, flapping his arms. She's holding his newborn child you've never seen. And said, the rental company won't pay for a rental car. What are we going to do? Well, you come out of your coma and you say, well, we've got this money. Let's do this, this, and this, because you've had money in the bank.
Right.
You saved up. You had $5,000 sitting there. Well, you've lost your job, but you had disability insurance. What are you going to do? So you save your money, and you just plan on what's going to happen. Prepping is about not the big things. It's about everyday things. And that's what Dave Ramsey talks about. So if you can do that, then you can go to Jack Spirko and you can listen to him for a while and get his philosophies about don't automatically believe what the government is saying, because Dave Ramsey, Jack doesn't like Dave Ramsey. I mean, he has his criticisms of him, but I really like Dave Ramsey and I like Jack, and you just do both.
So what you're saying is then that prepping should make your life better, whether it's two things. Prepping should make your life better, whether bad things happen or they don't.
Right.
And you should probably prep for the most likely, like you said, busting through a green light and getting hit, as opposed, I mean, yes, if you get all that covered, sure, we can talk about worldwide grid down and everything, but it sounds to me like you and it sounds like you teach just everybody that, be practical and prepare for the most common eventualities.
Yeah. It's more likely to lose your job or have the car break down or have an unexpected medical expense than to have one of these big events happen. And you should also, with new preppers, don't try to have everything. Go through the fear of what other people are going to do, and then have supply. Set a goal to have 80% of everything you need, because somebody else have the 20%.
That's great. I love it.
And a lot. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
A lot of this stuff is what Jack Spirko, talked about. A lot of this, it's a lot of Jack stuff. I started with Jack, and then I tied in, my philosophy of it. Like, I'm more of the handheld guy. I'm trying to help. I'm the life coaching guy. I want to help people calm their fears. I want neighbors all around me to be Jack Spirko, but I don't need to be Jack Spirko. I need to be the person that wants to do life coaching, that I'm trying to get into life coaching. I've got some training, some certificates. I've got insurance. But when you do about life coaching, when you take these classes, there's nobody. It's all about people in the office. It's not talk about guys in the oil patch or working the factory or working the family business.
Right.
So then I bring that to prepping. That it's not all about, let's call the animals, let's do all this other stuff. Let's get our guns and let's have the quick clot and let's ready to fight the battles. You're gonna bury more dead bodies than you are going to be in a gunfight. Because what's going to happen is your neighbors, all the senior citizens, the COVID didn't get them. A grid down place will, because they're unhealthy people and they're going to run out of medicine. They're going to die, and you're going to have to go down there and bury that dead body.
So yeah, I love the 80% Dave Ramsey and the 20% Jack Spirko, because like you said, I mean, what's the worst thing's going to happen if you pay your mortgage off, right? Or you pay your credit card? Nothing. It's going to do is make your life better, and also put you in a position where you can look after those emergencies much better. Hey.
Yeah. And you're signing, the people in the United States sign up for unhappiness. They sign up for credit card debt, and you can make as much money as you can if you want to. And if you can get out of that poverty mindset, there are buses leaving the poor neighborhoods every day, a famous African-American guy said. So you can make as much money as you want. So make that money and choose happiness. And then money helps. Money helps. You can get treatment. You can hire people to help. You can do all the stuff, and you're not under trying to survive, trying to feed yourself if you don't have credit card debt in this country.
Right. So you said you wanted to be, or that you're kind of attempting to become a prepping life coach.
Yeah.
Do you find, like you said, almost everyone comes to prepping because of an acute fear, right? Whether it's I'm scared of EMP, or I'm scared of the poles shifting, or I don't, whatever, right? But I always had a saying that, fear isn't a good long-term motivator. And a lot of people, they come, like you said, like you came because you're in Wendy's drive-through and you heard Dick Cheney talking about, North Korea, but you've stayed there. And what you've done now has made your life a lot better. So how do you, in being a prepping life coach, or, working toward that, how are you going to take people from that, that acute fear of, I'm scared of, say, for instance, Russia and Ukraine right now, and take them into hopefully a long-term or lifestyle of preparedness?
Yeah. Well, how do I do that? I do that with the 5 stages of prepper denial.
And what's that?
Well, the first stage of prepper denial is laughter. Like, well, that could never happen. And then
Okay.
The second stage is feet frozen in fear. Like, oh my God, this guy's onto something, and my comfortable life is gonna be over. So pre-COVID, people they worked in casinos, they cut hair, they delivered pizzas. I mean, and there was always, and you couldn't find any good help. My boss could never find anybody. This employment, this work will always be there. Well, all of a sudden, the pandemic hit, and all those people got laid off. If you couldn't work from home and Zoom, all the blue collar people, a lot of them got laid off. So what you can do there. So those people all woke up. And
they're the ones that came. So the first, they're laughing, like they laughed at Noah or whatever, right? But then the second batch is, and that's probably where people are starting to get interested in prepping, are they? Because they're scared? Or do you think?
The second stage is their feet are frozen because, oh my God, this guy's on to something. So they stop laughing and they're stuck, and they're stuck in one spot. So then the third stage is criticizing the messenger because the message is scary. And I like that stage. I'm glad. I'll take the arrows. Show them my way, because if they're coming to me and saying, "Well, this won't work because of this, this, and this," that means they're thinking. That means their feet are unfrozen. They're not that. They're not deer in the headlights. A deer in the headlights just stands there. He doesn't know what to do, and so you get out of the deer in the headlights. So then you attack the messenger, and that's good. So then the fourth stage is, what is the government and utility companies doing to make sure I'm never uncomfortable? So then they're thinking, okay, this is real. So whose problem is this? It's the government, it's utility company. So whatever
Somebody
I'm
else.
worried about. So
Right.
then the fifth stage is, okay, I gotta be responsible for me. And so then they start privately prepping and just go for a whole year. Don't tell anybody, just start doing it and get to the point where, because you start talking to your neighbors and they say, oh, I'll just come to your house. Well,
Oh,
eventually you get to the point when they say you can use that as a teaching moment. Great, come to my house, love to have you. Here's what you got to do. Please bring both your vehicles, one pulling your travel trailer you're going to sleep in, and one pulling your flatbed trailer with your 3 year supply of food, water, medical supplies. Because you're not eating any of our stuff. But we'd love to have you. Now tell me, what does your wife and teenage children do well so I can know what kind of work crew to put them in? So what
well,
you're doing there,
that's awesome. Keep going. I'm sorry.
yeah.
That's just
So what you're doing there is you're pushing back. You're pushing back with equal force because you talk to your neighbor about prepping, and this is mostly guys. Guys, they don't, they just push back and they go, "Oh, just come to your house," because they don't want to hear it. Well, what you're doing is you're pushing back with equal. They're being rude, and we'll just come eat all your stuff, or we'll take your stuff. And you're pushing back and you're educating them.
yep.
You're making them think. What do you mean, work crew? I'm not going to work. You're not serious. Yeah, I'm going to work you to death. What's going to happen is the government's going to come by with that truck saying you want to go to the FEMA camp, and you're going to run to that truck and jump on and say, "Come on, we got to get it. Rob's working us to death."
So what
And
you're saying is prepping is personal responsibility.
that's right.
That's
And that,
incredible. I love it. But what you're doing though is I love it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone in prepping put it the way you put it because a lot of preppers get cocky, right? Or they
yeah,
get like some people get that kind of nasty edge to them, and that's not right. And I
yeah,
really, really appreciate your attitude because you're like, sure, you're showing your neighbors love because you're
yeah,
like, yeah, you can come, but at the same time, you're like, okay, I love you. You can come and stay here, but you got to pull your weight. And but then you're also saying this is how to pull your weight.
yeah,
That's good. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a matter of getting them, because that's what I want people to do is preppers. We do a lot of talking and we talk about conspiracy theories and we do all this stuff. And what I want preppers to do is to not talk about conspiracy theories because that makes us look crazy. What I say is that preppers do not believe in conspiracy theories. We're worry warts and we worry about everything. And what I want them to do, we need a rebranding. And I want them to delete all their YouTube videos and all their websites and take their favorite liberal to the gun range. And
Yes, because I know why.
because
Keep
that,
going.
that gets it. You see, you caught on what we're doing is that what we're worried about and all these conspiracy theories is government doing crazy things. And I'm worried to death about it. But when we get into giving these examples, we lose people. We lose people that are in the
Oh,
third stage of prepper denial, which is criticizing the message because the message is scary. So we got to have an unscary message. So we don't talk about conspiracy theories. What we do is we take them to the gun range because if we're worried about our guns being taken away, we create one more gun owner. What we
why is
do
that? Just elaborate for some.
Well,
I know where you're
if you're
going
a
with
gun
this.
owner in the United States, then this country is built on self-reliance and individual, pull your, carry your own weight, and
Mhm.
we're a gun culture, and so we're worried about big government and globalism and Agenda 2030 and world order and all that stuff, and we worry that the government's going to come in and want to take our guns. So instead of talking about that, instead of preaching to the choir, create more gun owners. And what you have to do is you have to go to their kitchen table, sit down there and talk to them, take all the arrows about like this latest shooting in
Mhm.
Wisconsin, and the Sandy Hook. Well, in Sandy Hook, that mother bought the mentally ill teenager that gun, and he killed her with it and those kids in that classroom. Well, those are hard conversations to have. So if you can sit down, go find your favorite Democrat liberal who's a gun control advocate, go sit down at the kitchen table and take all the arrows, and you flip the wife, or you flip the man, or whatever. In gay couples, you have the aggressive spouse and the passive spouse. You got to flip one of them.
Sure.
And get them to start thinking out. Don't let them be the sheeple, because the sheep automatically, they follow along. They're easily manipulated. In this country, we get all riled up, and we got people are losing friendships over politics, and that's all dumb. Got to stop.
So why do you take them to the gun range, though? That's what
you take them to the gun range, and you take them to the gun range. You take them in the door, and you immerse them in gun culture. You take them to the picnic table where all the gun guys sit around and tell stories, and you sit down there and say, okay, we're going to talk guns. This is a new gun owner, and then let them ask their questions. So if you take them to the gun range and you show them how obsessively the gun people talk about safety, and you get them some training, you put that gun in their hand, and then so what you're doing is you're showing them that this is a tool. The gun is a tool that can be used for good or for bad, because there's a gun that bad guy used in Milwaukee. Now in Russia, it's the same gun, or China, that they tap. If you say something against the government, they come tap on your door, point that gun at you and say, you come with us, or we're going to shoot everybody in your house in front of you, then you're going to come with us. It's the same gun.
One thing I was thinking was, and I'm sure this is kind of where you're heading with it, but when the first time you fire a gun, it's pretty hard to wipe that smile off your face.
Yeah.
And when I was in Orlando, I went to Machine Gun America, because we don't have machine guns up here, of course. And Becky has a video of me turning around grinning like a little schoolgirl, Right. And a lot of times, and what I love what you're talking about was take the arrows, sit down, have a conversation, legitimately deal, because the longer I converse with people from both sides of the fence, I honestly believe that most of us are 90 to 95%. We believe 90 to 95% of the same stuff. It's that 5% that both the media and people and love to focus on and divide us on. But I love that, Rob. That's bringing people together. That's great, man.
Yeah.
So are there any other special considerations for special needs kids? I know we talked about food and pattern, or keeping the routine the same. Anything else that would be important?
Well, it's good for special needs families. You need to network. You need to get out of your comfort shell. You got to get away from the fear of what other people are going to do. As soon as you can get out of that, work takes about a year to work through that. And sometimes the man is more, can get out of it sooner than the ladies, because ladies have a fear that the men are going to be killed and the bad guys are going to come after them and the children. Now, I've asked about a dozen ladies that. I've never had a lady disagree with that. So you have to be the man. Men were created to be protectors of innocent women and children. So men have to step up and do this. And so when you have a special needs child, what you have to think about is, I don't want them to get into gardening or homesteading. You network with other people that can do that. Establish your compound, find a hobby, because all special needs parents, they need some type of hobby. I've got prepping, but to distract you from the responsibility of a special needs child, well, get into ham radio, get into herbal medicine, but let somebody else grow the food. Let somebody else work out in the yard and do the animals and raise the crops. But you have some diesel fuel. I don't have anything that has diesel fuel. I'm going to have 20 gallons of diesel fuel. And then when the event happens, I'll go down and I'll trade that to the farmer for some food. So how can I support them? So start networking with people that can help your child. And whatever type of what your child needs, just network with those people to be ready for them to help you.
Is there any other, if you had strangers or people that just came to your house that you just met, would there be, and this could be in a normal everyday situation or a grid down situation, is there any way that they can help you? Or is it just like, stay out of my way is the best way to help me?
Well, for me, they could help. I mean, I'd have to, I'm such a loving, kind guy. I'll have to have my neighbors help me evaluate before we let strangers in the house. But
Mm.
with Josh, that he's he's very easygoing,
Okay.
and because like whenever like we go to the oil change place and they have a lady there working and he hides under the seat because he thinks I'm going to leave him there to do therapy.
Oh,
But because he's been raised by ladies, doing therapy with him his
yep.
whole life. But anybody could come in and work with Josh. Um, so
Okay.
you know, but you have to, if you have a child that's in a wheelchair, you have a child that's very sensitive or is very big, then you just have to. Different parents know what they need, and they need to start networking now and start building a community and trade. Like I can't do a GSD weekend, but if you can develop a group like that, well, I'll bring over my dump truck and you fill it full of junk.
Right. And
Or
then you
and
can,
you just try to network and trade with people, and then you make friends with them, and then you see how they're like in a normal situation. Because you meet a stranger after the event goes down, you don't know what their normal is,
right.
but you meet people, network now, and it'll make your prepping. There's no downside to prepping.
No, none. So really what you're saying is, food, medicine, routine, and
Yeah,
and community, which
yeah,
is basically normal everyday prepping,
yeah,
except you need to uh, blend it and bend it toward
yeah.
your own personal, you and your missus and Josh's needs.
Right,
Hey,
right.
man, Rob, you got some good stuff there.
Yeah.
we're Yeah, we're pretty much out of time right now. Actually,
Okay.
we're at an hour. Man, we did like talking to an old friend. It doesn't take very
Thank
long,
you. Yeah.
So how any final thoughts and how can people find you, Rob?
Well, the website is prepper-presentations.com.
Okay.
And so I got my email address at the bottom there, or you can click the contact form. And so what I want to do is I'm I'm a I want to do life coaching over Zoom. I think that I can
Nice.
charge $40 an hour. And my thing, what I bring to life coaching is that I've had a lot of people over the years say, we need to quit your family business. You need to put your child in a home because people speak with authority on stuff they don't know anything about. And they give a
Yeah.
lot of bad advice with sincerity. And so what frightens me is that I don't want to be that person. And then you have to be careful. Like you have to manage a light bulb moment. You can when you give somebody a great idea, they could run out the next day and quit their job. Because people have given me a light bulb moment and they've said, now be careful with the power that you now see that you have. So life coaching is serious stuff, and I want to work with a therapist. I mean, you go get your therapy and come back to me, and I'll help you with your homework. And
Nice.
then I can do that with prepping. I can do prepping. I want to do prepping consulting. I want to just help people. It's more of the hold their hand and talk through their fears. There's other guys. Jack Spirko's got a great network of people to help with the big things. I want to help with the things that are inside your heart. What's at risk? What's at risk to do this? What's at risk to look at this? That's what I bring to the table.
Well, thanks, Rob. You got a big heart, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
that. And
thank
obviously, yeah, you got enough love to share with Josh and it seems like a whole prepper community. So
you.
thank you,
Right.
man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And it's prepper-presentations.com.
Yes. Dot
Okay.
com.
.com. Okay. And that's the way, if anybody wants to hook up with you for prepping life coaching, that's the way to go.
Yep. It's on there. You just go to my website and look through it. The last thing, my goal of the website was to create a resource website because I've got YouTube channels, I've got the books, I've got the podcast, and however you want to get your stuff. And I've got all the personalities. You want Jack Spirko foot up the butt, you can do that. You want the survival mom, nice and gentle, you can do that. You get the patriot nose, foot up the butt. But what you can do is I got a section for lady preppers.
Mhm.
And so just ladies can go through that and find out, okay, how do you want your information? What format? And then how do you want it? Do you want it gentle or ungentle?
Yep.
And do you like podcasts or books or YouTube videos? Do you want to play in your car and listen? I've got it all there. My goal is if somebody just goes once to my website, finds a resource and goes somewhere else, never comes back, my job is done. I don't have any pop-up ads. There's no, and it's very plain. Just go get your stuff and go start prepping.
Nice. Martinson family, they're a fellow Canadian. They said boundless respect for you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
That was thank you very much. So yeah, I'll if you want to, if you can hang on for just a second in the background, I'll close up the show and I'll be right back with you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Rob. Well, guys, you never know where shows are going to go. And this was a topic that I didn't know anything about. And I feel like Rob, beyond teaching me just a little bit about living with an autistic family member, I think we got to see Rob's heart. I think that was really cool. What a guy, to look after his son, with his wife for so much time, and to still have so much love to give to other people, and wanting to help people new and experienced in preparedness. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to him. And guys, thanks. This was a great show. Absolutely great show. And next, I will see you Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Fireside Freedom. And we got Thursday preparedness. We'll have a Saturday show. And then, of course, Sunday, we have our interview with Greg from the Apocalyptic Training Camp in Edmonton, which is going to be an awesome show. So, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.